triple bag alert, folks. That's right. Garret Wilson gets paid. Trey Smith resets the guard market. Sauce Gardner resets the cornerback market. Terry McLaurin speaks out. Jauan Jennings gives the 49ers an ultimatum. The NFLPA backs the league executive. Why? I don't know. Why has only 2 second-round picks signed their rookie deals? TJ Watt trade? Question mark? Maybe. And we got to do gut check time. That's right, folks. Gut check time. But this time we're doing it a little bit different. We're doing training camp edition. And we're not just doing just one division. We're doing 2 divisions. That's right. AFC North, NFC North. So guess what? You already know my spell. So guess what? This is the 85th episode of the Football Junkies podcast. All right. I am your host with the most. I am your chief Bagrodamus. That's right. Chief head of the table, anything and everything related to the bag, rumors to the bag, and more. But guess what? I am your chief RSS affiliate. I am your GM who currently is not on the team right now. But don't you worry about it, okay? Don't you worry about it, because guess what? I am all these things and more. But most importantly, the most important thing that you must remember is I am your host, Kale. You already know how things are about to go. So guess what? If you have something that you have to do, you got to clean your room, you got to clean the house, got to clean the bathroom, whatever you got to do. Guess what? This is the episode to listen to, because guess what? This episode is full of twists, turns, hot takes, truth bombs, and more. So guess what? On 3, 1, 2, 3, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. And man, is there a lot of stuff going on in the league right now. For some teams, they've already started training camp. For others, I think they start either today, tomorrow, or next week. Depends on the team. But we're not worried about that, okay? Because we got bag alerts, all right? We got triple bag alerts to talk about, all right? So let's start things with Sauce Gardner, okay? So Sauce Gardner inks a 4-year, $120.4 million deal, $60 million guaranteed, and he'll be making $30.1 million a year. When we look at his stats from this past season, 49 tackles, 1 sack. He was targeted 51 times for 28 receptions, allowed 454 yards, 1 touchdown, and had 1 pick. Now here is a junkie nugget that definitely caught my attention that I just had to bring it up. So this is according to Zach Rosenblatt on X. So from 2011 through 2022, the Jets only signed 1 first-round pick to a second contract, and that was Muhammad Wilkerson. Since then, Quinnen Williams in 2023, they re-signed him. Garret Wilson, 2025, they re-signed him. And then Sauce Gardner in 2025. Times are changing, which is true. But I feel like the Jets overpaid Sauce, and let me explain why. Sauce last season didn't play his best ball. And so, in my mind, I would have thought Sauce would have taken a little bit less just to say, hey, I'm still that guy. Let me just prove it to you guys. Instead of just saying, hey, we're going to reset the market for you. If the Jets would have made him top 5 or top 10 highest paid corners, I would have no problem with that. Because he's still a top 5 to top 10 corner, depending on who you ask in the conversations and whatnot. But to reset the market for Sauce, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, honestly. Because on one hand, yes, Sauce Gardner is a really good player, and he's probably their best corner since Darrelle Revis. But on the other hand, like, resetting the market is to me, resetting the market means you've been balling out since coming into the league. Compared to, you may have probably 2 good seasons out of 3, or 3 seasons out of 4, or whatever the case may be, and now we're just, we're only talking about resetting the market. That's where we get things a little bit tricky. But congratulations to Sauce. Now let's talk about somebody else that got paid, all right? So Trey Smith, guard for the Chiefs, inks a 4-year, $94 million deal, $70 million guaranteed, and he'll be making $23.5 million a year. So this was expected. We all knew that the Chiefs had until 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon to finalize a long-term deal with Trey Smith. Otherwise, he was going to play on the franchise tag. And there was a moment in time where the Chiefs were skeptical on if they were going to be able to get that deal done, but they were able to hash it out. And so congratulations to Trey Smith. Now the question is, are the Chiefs going to start contract negotiations with Trent McDuffie? Because that's another person that they need to take care of. And the question is, with Sauce Gardner getting his deal yesterday, does that make Trent McDuffie want to be top 5 highest paid, top 3 highest paid, reset the market? What exactly is the magical number for Trent McDuffie? Only time will tell. But let's talk about another Jet that inked a deal, and that is Garret Wilson, who inked a 4-year, $130 million deal, $90 million guaranteed. He gets a $13.75 million signing bonus, and he'll be making $32.5 million a year, which is a little bit of a head scratcher because at first I thought Garret Wilson was just going to just play out the rest of his deal and hit free agency, or better yet, just take a short-term deal so he can hit free agency while he's still in his prime. But clearly that's not the case. Garret Wilson has a lot of upside to his game. And if the Jets find stability at quarterback, it's to the moon. Garret Wilson could possibly be in the same conversation as, a AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type of receiver, because he has that skill set. You were talking about somebody who, and I had to look this up, and it was actually crazy. He's one of 5 receivers in NFL history that have 80 plus receptions, 1,000 plus receiving yards in each of his first 3 seasons. The other receivers, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Michael Thomas, and OBJ. That's a pretty good class to be in. But let's go a little bit deeper into this extension. So according to Reception Perception, Garret Wilson's success rate against zone coverage is 82.4%. His success rate against man coverage is 77.6%. His success rate against press coverage is 78.6%. So you're talking about somebody that is pretty good when it comes to man, zone, and press coverage. Not to mention, when you look at his success by routes, you're talking about somebody that has a 94.7% success rate at flat routes. You're talking about somebody that has almost a 90% success rate in a lot of the routes. So why wouldn't the Jets want to pay him the way that they paid him? Not to mention, the deal doesn't kick in until the 2026 season. But let's keep talking about wide receiver, okay? So Jauan Jennings, wide receiver for the 49ers, has informed the team that he is looking for a new deal or he wants out. So he's in the final year of his deal, making $7.5 million this season. And according to SpotRack, his market value is 2 years, $20 million, which is $10 million a year. Now, here's the crazy thing about it. His stats this past season, although to some they may not be the best, is still very productive. He had 113 targets for 77 receptions, 975 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, and 12.7 receiving yards per reception. But here's a junkie nugget. According to the 33rd team, among players who ran 200 plus routes, Jauan Jennings ranked in the top 20 in yards per route run and in total EPA on targets. Folks, you're talking about somebody that is a very productive wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 on a lot of teams. And the 49ers realize that they need Jauan Jennings because there's no other option at wide receiver. We still don't know the timeline of Brandon Ayuk. Ricky Pearsall is still trying to get used to everything. There's no other options available other than Jauan Jennings. What sense does it make giving Brock Purdy all of that money if he doesn't have a receiver to throw to? Now the question is this, and this is for any receiver, and this is for any player. What's the magical number? Now my number for Jauan Jennings is probably between 15 to maybe 20 million a year. Now with the 20, that's with incentives. But base salary, as far as guarantees and whatnot, is between 15 to maybe 18 million a year. He's not a wide receiver 1. He's a wide receiver 2/3 on a lot of teams. But if you're the 49ers ownership, you're probably starting to get a little bit tired of this. Because how many off seasons have we seen the 49ers once again being the headlines of somebody's looking for a new deal? Go from Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. Everybody's looking for deals, and everyone's getting paid. But here's the thing, though. Nobody's holding up a Lombardi trophy. Nobody's going to the Super Bowl. So if I'm ownership, I may be a little reluctant on giving Jauan Jennings a deal because why? I done wrote this person a check, that person a check, that person a check, that person a check, and I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't held up a Lombardi trophy because that's what it's about. So at some point, the line has to be drawn in the sand. I think John Lynch in the front office will try to start up negotiations with Jauan Jennings. And if they feel like his number is a little bit too big, then they'll probably ship him off, and then they'll probably target a wide receiver when it gets to cut down time after training camp. Because there's a potential that we can see a lot of receivers getting moved once we get down to trimming down the rosters. Kayshon Boutte, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs. There could be a lot of young receivers that they could possibly get. Or you can make a big move and you can go after someone like a Terry McLaurin. Just saying. Which, speaking of Terry McLaurin, we need to talk about this situation, okay? So Terry McLaurin was able to speak to the media after shooting a commercial with Eastern Motors. If you know, you know. I'm not going to get into that because I might get copyright struck. He basically voiced his displeasure on how things are going between him and the Commanders. And let's just get into everything. So here are some of the talking points from this situation. So Terry McLaurin has said both sides haven't talked in a month. He's undecided on if he'll report to camp, but we'll see what happens. He's frustrated and disappointed on how negotiations are going and doesn't know the outcome. He wants the Commanders to let him know that if he's a part of the future or not. He's also said that Jayden Daniels has voiced his support during this entire process. But here are some of the quotes from that media session. And I quote, "It's obviously the compensation, but it's kind of like the confusion. All year you feel like you're a part of something. You earn the right to be a captain. When you have that type of production, when you know how people value you and see you and have told you to your face, and then you see how it's progressing until this point, that's very disappointing. I'm just trying to get some clarity. Shoot it to me straight," end quote. He also goes on to say this, and I quote, "I guess you can say there is no point of return. I don't think it's at that point now, but time is kind of ticking," end quote. He also says this, and I quote, "When things were adverse, when there was a lot of chaos going on, I held firm. I held strong. I held my head high and I was a leader. I'm going to continue to do that," end quote. He also goes on to say this, and I quote, "With how the market is today, it conveys what guys of my caliber are deserving of. I feel I fit in that box because of how I've carried myself on and off the field. I don't want to feel like you have to beg for someone to see your worth and value. Everything in previous regimes and now, I've done everything asked of me," end quote. While I understand this is a new regime change and the front is different, so their vision may be different, their approach to contracts are different, I get all of that, but this is a no-brainer. If he wants $30 million, give him $30 million. Better yet, I'll give you $2 extra million just to show you of how much I love and appreciate you as a person. Because Terry McLaurin deserves that. Let's be real here, folks. The last deal that he signed, that was a cheap deal. He took a team-friendly deal. Now he's looking for a re-up. He's looking for a real deal. So it's only right that you give him what he deserves. If you paid Terry McLaurin between what DK Metcalf and Garret Wilson got, who's complaining? Because by the time Terry McLaurin's deal is over with, guess what? It'll be almost time for you to pay Jayden Daniels or somebody else. So it's only right that you take care of Terry McLaurin. It's not going to hurt the team. It's actually going to benefit the team because what you're doing is playing a dangerous game, not only with the players, but with the fan base. Not to mention you're playing a dangerous game in the development of Jayden Daniels. Why wouldn't you want to pay his number one weapon? It's ludicrous. You've made all of these moves in the offseason to better this team, but the one thing that you need to do, you haven't done it yet. What's the problem? Please tell me what's the problem. Now, see, here's the thing. If Terry McLaurin's asking price was a little bit too high, if it was in the range of what Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase was making, okay, fine. I have no problem with that. You have every right to say no. But if it's 30, 32, maybe 33 at best, who's complaining? No one. You give him the deal, he shows up, everyone's happy, no problems. Now that we've talked about contracts and whatnot for now, because we still have some other things we have to talk about with contracts, let's talk about the Players Association. So we all know about the whole collusion case. I talked about it in the previous episode. If you guys haven't listened to it, please go ahead and listen to it. Also, listen to Pablo Torres's episode as well, because he did a more deeper dive into the entire collusion case as well. So this is what the NFLPA had to say about the calls for the resignation of Executive Director Lloyd Howe, and I quote, "As members of the NFLPA Executive Committee, We categorically reject false reports insinuating doubts within this committee or suggestions that we have asked our executive director to step down. We further reject attempts to miscategorize the committee's views or divide our membership. We have established a deliberate process to carefully assess the issues that have been raised and will not engage in a rush to judgment. We believe in and remain committed to working with our executive director and other members of the NFLPA staff and player leadership who have a shared mission to advance the best interests of players. As we approach the 2025 season, we look forward to continuing our important work together and ensuring the strength and unity of our association. If this ain't a load of shit, I don't know what is. I'm going to be really honest with you, because there is no way under God's green earth that you, as an executive director and the NFLPA staff, can allow someone like Lloyd Howell to continue to represent the Players Association when literally in this collusion case, it shows his inability to execute his job. Not to mention the way that he was able to acquire said job is also controversial in itself. Why would you want someone like that representing the Players Association? Why would you want somebody who clearly is not for the players? He's for the corporation, which is the NFL. May I remind you, folks, if you guys haven't looked this up, Lloyd Howell was a part of one of the biggest scams in U.S. history with Booz Allen. I'm not going to go in depth with it, because if I do, that'll be another 20 to 35 minutes. I'm not going to do that. If you want to, go on Google, type in his name, and then type in Booz Allen. It's going to tell you the entire story. Why would you want someone like that representing the Players Association? No. Absolutely, positively, hell no. And if I'm a player, I'm raising some sand about this, because why? This collusion case, on top of this statement, shows that the Players Association is not for the player. Instead, it is for the owners, it is for the league, and it is for the shield. And that's not how this is supposed to work. The Players Union is supposed to be the thorn in the league's side. They are supposed to be the people that continues to just nag at them every single chance that they get. Every time. But we don't have that right now. Instead, what we have is two people that say, hey, we really don't like each other, but in actuality, you guys are doing business with each other. On top of that, if you guys didn't listen to the previous episode when I talk about the collusion case, there's also something that I want to add in as well. Lloyd Howell is a part-time consultant for the Carl Group, which is an NFL-approved private equity firm that is seeking minority ownership within NFL franchises. Conflict of interest? Somebody that clearly is for the league instead of the players? Oh, but wait. There's more. And you were a part of the group who said, you know what? We can't let this case get out to the players. We are going to hide this. Let's agree, NFL, to hide this from the players so they don't know exactly what we just did. Folks, if I'm a player, if I'm someone like a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson, hell, if I'm any of the players that were involved in this collusion case, I am blowing this up. I'm name dropping. Because it's not right that you have somebody in a position of power such as Lloyd Howell who is not in favor for the players, but instead is in favor for the league and the owners. At some point, someone's going to have to man up and talk about this. At some point, significant change is going to have to occur. Otherwise, people like Lloyd Howell are going to continue to stay in power. People like J.C. Tretter, that J.C. Tretter, the one that played for the Browns, the one that put Lloyd Howell in position because y'all was trying to look out for each other. That's what that is. You scratch your back, I scratch yours. You look out for me, I look out for you. And this is where we are. And if I'm a player, especially a player of power, I'm raising sand. I'm raising sand every chance I get. Every time somebody wants to ask me a question, I'm bringing it up. Because you know why? It needs to be known. The players need to know exactly what's going on, because this is going to have future ramifications on future contracts. Look at the next batch of quarterbacks that are going to be looking for money. You don't think these teams are going to do the same thing that they just finished doing to Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson? Please. No matter how many handshakes they give you, no matter how many times they ask, oh yeah, how's mom? How's your family? How's your grandma? How's things going? Guess what? Remember this case. Remember this collusion case. Remember that the league and the owners came together and said, you know what? We are going to do everything in our power to prevent players from getting large guarantees. Oh, by the way, we're doing this in a period of time where the NFL is making so much money that we just want to keep it for ourselves. But you know what? We have no need to talk about that. You know, we have no need to talk about that because we got some other things that we have to talk about. And that is this whole, well, you know what? Better yet, yeah, I'm going to say the TJ Watt thing later on. We have to talk about the rookie deals real quick. So a lot of people are wondering what's going on with the second round rookies. And finally got some clarification about it. So all the second round rookies are now looking for fully guaranteed contracts. And this is all thanks to the Texans. So the Texans gave Jaden Higgins the first fully guaranteed contract as a second round pick. And so in doing so, the Browns followed suit and they gave their second round pick, Carson Swearinger, as a fully guaranteed contract as well. Now Trey Harris, wide receiver for the Chargers, he's officially holding out because he wants the same thing as well. So at some point, league offices are going to have to give in. You're just going to have to give second round picks fully guaranteed contracts. That's just what it is. We knew at some point this was going to happen, and it finally happened. Now, this is probably the wrong time for this to happen because you have the whole collusion case happening, and you know you have the after effects with that, and now you got this. So it's a lot of stuff going on, but do I think there's going to be some resolution anytime soon? No. Do I think this could possibly get pretty ugly? Yes. Because if you only have 2 second round picks that have signed their deals and nobody else has signed their contract, that's not good. If you're a fan, you can't really be mad at the players. You have to be in some ways mad at the agents because the agents are telling them, hey, don't step on the field until you have a fully guaranteed contract. Are they wrong? No. But again, this goes back to the previous episode that I put out about the whole collusion case and guaranteed contracts. At some point, players are going to have to get fully guaranteed contracts. That's just what it is. You play a very brutal sport, and you deserve a fully guaranteed contract. Now, the way it's structured varies, but there is a way that teams can have a fully guaranteed contract for players. And that should be an option that should be readily available for anybody if they want to take that route. But y'all don't want to hear me talk about that. Y'all don't want to hear me talk about that. But I know what y'all want me to talk about, and that is TJ Watt, okay? Yeah. Steelers fans, you're going to hate me today. But guess what? I love each and every one of you. So according to Andrew Filipponi, Pat McAfee Steelers insider Mark Caboli says the Steelers have inquired around the league to see what TJ Watt's trade value is, called it, and I quote, doing their due diligence, end quote. That's a big change in the TJ Watt discussion from a big-time Steelers insider. That's what Filipponi put out not too long ago. Then 24 hours later, Mark Caboli puts this out. He says Steelers are still in a holding pattern with TJ Watt's contract extension, length of deal, guarantees, and total value. Basically, everything to some varying degrees are the sticky points right now. Even so, there is no anticipation for Watt to hold out when camp starts on July 23rd, and there has been no inquiries made to other teams about trading him according to sources. Basically, these are how high-profile and big money deals go. Seems like it could go down the same wires it did in 2021. Now, according to Nick Faribault from the Steelers Breakdown podcast via Penn Live, shout out to him, he said the same thing, which is year 3 guarantees and contract length. Here's the thing, okay? If I'm the Steelers, I'm trading away TJ Watt. I'm just going to be very honest with you. This team is nowhere competitive. This team has not shown that it is going in the right direction. And there are too many question marks on this team. It's time for you to give TJ Watt a better opportunity. If you aren't willing to break out of the mold that you've been in for the past, I don't know, 10, 15, or 20 some years, for a star player, a game changer, a person that stats show that if you don't have him on the field, you are going to lose more games than win, then what are we doing? See, it's one thing if this was just a normal pass rusher who he's had, 2 really good years and, he's feeling himself and whatnot. Okay, fine. You can put your feet in the sand. But y'all know TJ Watt took a discount with the last deal. So it's only right that you do right by him this deal. Not to mention, let me put a little bookmark in that, because we have to go back to the whole Kaboli thing. We all know Mark Kaboli got a phone call. Because see, ain't nobody finna just put out a tweet in 24 hours that says something contradicting to what they originally said. No. The Steelers are shopping around TJ Watt. They're asking different teams, hey, if we made TJ Watt open, what's the asking price? What would you be willing to give up to get someone like a TJ Watt? And they probably didn't like the response. And so they went back into contract negotiations. On top of that, they don't want something like that to get out, because if that happens, that could potentially mess up any progress that's been made between TJ Watt and the Steelers right now. See, I know there's going to be people that's going to be thinking, well, you got your tinfoil hat on and you're probably, in a dark basement, in a dark room with no light on, thinking about these conspiracy theories. No, I'm just putting 2 together. December comes around, fold. Guess where they're going? Cancun, Turks and Caicos, Paris, London, Japan, Canada, Brazil, Cape Town. Vacation. See, here's the thing, okay? Last season showed us a lot. That gauntlet specifically showed that this team still can't go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs or the Ravens or even the Eagles. So if I'm TJ Watt, if I'm getting up in age, if I want to win a championship, and I know that this team is not in no capacity of winning a championship within the next 3 years, I got to go. I got to bust a move because I want to win a championship. And if I'm TJ Watt, I would say, you know what, Omar? I'm going to make it easy on you. Trade me. Because there's no need in me staying on this team and continuing to buy into this foolishness that every single year they find a way to build it up with Steelers fans and in the media thinking that, the Steelers are legitimate contenders when they're really not. They're actually pretenders. There's no need to do it. Think about this for a second here, folks. Next year, they're going to have to draft a quarterback. Okay, cool. And on top of that, you're probably going to have to get some weapons, and you may have other things that you have to talk about, which we will talk about when we get to gut check time. If you're TJ Watt, you understand that rookie quarterbacks don't win the Super Bowl. So then that's another year that you're going to have to wait. Who wants to keep on waiting? See, here's the number one thing. Here's the secret sauce for all the teams right now that are Super Bowl contenders. You want to know the one thing that they all have in common? They hit on their drafts. That's the number one thing that's been keeping the Steelers from being ultra competitive right now. They haven't been hitting on their draft picks. That's the reason why Kevin Colbert and those Steelers in the early 2000s were super successful. Because you know why? Year after year, what was Kevin Colbert doing? Hitting on his draft picks. Not just his first and second round picks, but his third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round picks. And so when you hit on those picks, that mitigates the cost in trying to get somebody via free agency or in the trade. But now this team has gone through a stretch since 2017, because we all know that TJ Watt is the last first rounder to get a second contract with this team. Since then, Terrell Edmonds, Devin Bush, Kenny Pickett, who else you want to go? Possibly Broderick Jones. That's almost 4 people, 4 first rounders that didn't get a second contract with the Steelers. That pushes you back a lot. That affects you a lot in your decision making moving forward. Not to mention the mishandling of Kenny Pickett By not firing Matt Canada after that first season, instead keeping him, that also pushed the team back. A lot of moves that have been made for the Steelers have pushed them back instead of pushed them forward. So if I'm TJ Watt, send me to the Eagles. Send me to the Lions, 49ers, teams that are actually competitive. Not a team that just shouts from the mountaintop, oh yeah, we're super competitive. Oh yeah, this is going to be our year. It's a Super Bowl mentality. That's all that it is. No, it's not. No, it's not. But you know what? You know what time it is? It's gut check time, folks. All right, let's talk about gut check time. Because this one's going to be a little bit different, okay? Instead of us doing the normal one that we used to do during the regular season, we're going to do something a little bit different. This one's for the training camp, okay? So I decided to break this down like this. So we're going to talk about positional battles to watch out for, players to keep an eye out for, the storyline for the team, and possible free agency additions. So let's just get into it. AFC North, all right? So with the Ravens, the positional battles that I'm looking out for are guard, cornerback, and not specifically cornerback 1, quarterback 2, quarterback 3, or quarterback 4, but, quarterback 5 and quarterback 6, edge, and inside linebacker. Now, here are the players that I want to keep an eye out for. David Ojabo, Daniel Falele, TJ Tampa, Latavius Robinson, Adiza Isaac, and Ben Cleveland. Now, there's probably a few more, but those are the main ones that I really have my eye on. So let's start with David Ojabo. The Ravens have been very lenient with David Ojabo. They're trying to give him a chance because we all know that coming out of Michigan that year, he was slated to be a first-round pick. And then he got injured. I think he routine drill, and he just fell off. And so the Ravens are trying to, find a way they can tap into that potential that he had when he was coming out of Michigan. So far, that's been unsuccessful, and he's on the outside looking in for pass rusher. And so if I'm David Ojabo, you got to be spectacular not only in training camp but also in preseason. You have to give the Ravens a reason not to cut you, because right now it's looking likely that you may not make this team. Same thing with Daniel Falele. They've tried you in different positions and you haven't been successful in them. Why? I don't know. So can you blame the coaching? I don't think so, because everybody else is catching along with it. So what exactly is causing Daniel Falele to not progress like how he's supposed to progress? Now, I'm not saying he has to take this ginormous leap and become an all-pro this season. No, but if you are a league average to a league above average guard, who's complaining? No one. But you have yet to show anything, and that's important. TJ Tampa, you're on the outside looking in, especially with the move with Jair Alexander. You're definitely on the outside looking in. So you have to be spectacular on special teams, spectacular in training camp, and in the preseason. If not, most likely they're probably going to move on from you. Tavius Robinson, I see the potential, but he has to put it together. The pass rusher group is somewhat already established. I mean, you have Adafe Owe, you have Kyle Van Noy, you have Mike Green, the Green Machine, and you have a few other pass rushers as well. And so if I'm Tavius Robinson, I have to have a spectacular training camp. See, that's the number one thing with all of these players. You have to be spectacular in training camp and in the preseason. See, that's the number one thing that messes up a lot of players, right? In training camp, you could be having 3 or 4 really good practices and, everybody's talking very high about you. But when the preseason comes, you just fold. You're like a deer in headlights. Can't be like that. Adiza Isaac, it's the same thing that I said about Tavius Robinson and David Ojabo. Ben Cleveland, it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to show that you belong to this team. Otherwise, guess what's going to happen? The Ravens are going to get a free agent guard. And I can already tell you right now who they'll probably get. And it'll probably be Brandon Sheriff. But I'm going to say that, okay? Now, for the storyline for the Ravens right now, prepare for battle. Because this is a make it or break it year for the Ravens. It's time out for the excuses. It's time out for, well, we didn't do this and we didn't execute this. And how we did this, we would have made it here. We would have made it there. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Nobody cares about that. It's either you make it to the Super Bowl this year or just blow it up. Because you've invested far too much into this team on both sides of the ball, and you guys haven't made it at least to one Super Bowl. I'm not saying winning, but just making it to the Super Bowl would mean a lot. That would say, hey, all the moves that we've made, it was worth it. But if you don't make it to the Super Bowl, it was a waste. Every single move, from going after Roquan Smith and Jair Alexander and getting this person, getting that person, getting this veteran, getting that veteran, it was all a waste. Because why? You're right back where you are for the past few years, losing. And you don't want that. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, especially for guard, you have Brandon Scherf, which I think is a really good option, and I think he probably would want to go to the Ravens. You have Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, Mark Glanowski. You have veteran options for guard. I mean, do you bring in somebody to possibly push Daniel Falele? Do you probably try to let him see how things go? What exactly are you going to do? Because if I'm Eric DeCosta at this point, the gloves are off. We can no longer continue to play patty cake with our players. Either you're on the train or you're not. And if you're not, we're going to bring somebody in. They're going to take your job. Simple as that. Because right now, the Ravens Super Bowl window is closing. And every single year that you make it to the Super Bowl, every single year that you don't win a Super Bowl is a wasted year. Let's continue. Edge. You have Von Miller, you have Matthew Judon, you have Preston and Zadarius Smith, you have Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, Kaiser White, and John Kaminsky. Now here's the thing. Jadeveon Clowney, I feel like, is a very interesting signing because he's had history playing with the Ravens, and he actually played really well with the Ravens. That's how he was able to get the deal with the Panthers. I think if the edge position doesn't look that well, probably by the second or third week of training camp, I'll call Jadeveon Clowney. Because, again, it's time to start winning. Inside linebacker. See, here's the thing with inside linebacker, okay? And this has nothing to do with Roquan Smith. This has to do with Trent Simpson. Because right now, Teddy Buchanan can take his job. Teddy Buchanan looked really well in minicamp and in OTAs. Trent Simpson, your head is on the swivel. So whatever you need to do it. Because right now, somebody could possibly take your job. But if the Ravens want to take a veteran approach, they could go after someone like a Jawan Bentley, Devondre Campbell, which I don't think that will happen. If you know, you know. Eric Kendricks and Neville Hewitt, just to name a few. So all in all, the Ravens are still in a really good position. I don't want to take that away from the Ravens. They're still in a really good position. They're still competitive. They are still a Super Bowl team. But the time for excuses is over. You have everything at your disposal, especially with the move that they made to get Jair Alexander. Oh, there's definitely no excuses. If the Ravens don't win this year, that's it. That's it. Start calling for people's jobs. Start calling for people to get traded. All that and more. Because it's time to start winning. I'm going to beat the dead horse until the horse is no more. Until the horse is sprouting up flowers. It's time to start winning. Now let's get to the Browns. There are positional battles that I'm looking out for. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, edge, and left tackle. Players that I'm keeping an eye on. Deontay Johnson, DeJuan Jones, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Sampson. Their storyline. Who's backing Flacco? Now, before we get to the storyline, let's get to the players, okay? So, Deontay Johnson, for starters, you're on a vet minimum. You make one crucial mistake, they can cut you. DeJuan Jones, it's a little bit tricky with him because if I'm not mistaken, he's coming off of injury. So, for one, you want to see what condition he's in. But two, you want to see if he can take that next step to being, better than what he was last season. But, yeah, it's that offensive line is not looking pretty good right now. And it also doesn't help that Jedrick Willis has already said that he's not playing this season so that he can get healthy for next season, which I completely understand. But, man, if I'm the Browns, I would probably try to find a way to get at least like a swing tackle or something as an insurance policy. Kenny Pickett, you're on the outside looking in, brother. Right now, I would venture to say the Browns are probably going to roll with Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco before giving you a chance. Now, granted, by some accounts, people will consider you as a veteran, but right now, you really haven't shown anything in your career for, one reason or the next, but I'm a little bit skeptical with Kenny Pickett right now. Dylan Gabriel, you're on the fence as well. Same thing with Shedeur Sanders. It's basically who's going to be quarterback 2, quarterback 3 at this point. It's basically anybody's spot right now. Dylan Sampson, I want to see exactly what you're going to do, especially with this whole Quinshon Judkins situation. This is now your opportunity to possibly get the starting running back role. So what exactly are you going to do? How are you going to respond with this opportunity is my question. Now for the storyline, who's backing Flacco? Like I just said, because right now no one's going to be focused on any other position than quarterback, because that's the position that they invested the most into. They literally drafted 2 quarterbacks in one draft. So everyone's going to be focused on Shedeur as well as Dylan Gabriel, but I think they're going to be more focused on Shedeur, especially if the Browns give him an opportunity to start in one of these preseason games. Oh man, everybody is going to be talking about it. Now, when we look at free agency additions, especially for running back, they have options. Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson, Nyheim Hines, Amir Abdullah, Chase Edmonds, Ernest Johnson. That could be, that could be an option as well, because he did used to play for the Browns at one point. For edge, as I already said before, with the Ravens, Von Miller, Matthew Judon, Preston and Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, Kaiser White, and John Kaminsky. Left tackle, there really isn't any options available. Sure, you could probably go with the swing tackle route, but even then, it's really not the best. Wide receiver, you have Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Chris Conley, and Jamison Crowder, just to name a few. So when it comes to players to look out for, I would say Jermaine Burton and Miles Murphy for right now. I was trying to find a few others, but really didn't have the best success. But the storyline for the Bengals, I would say, is who on the defense will step up, especially with everything going on with Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson. Who on the defense is going to step up? Because right now, the Bengals defense needs to move. They're like, neither one of those pass rushers are going to be on the team this season. Pardon the interruption, but this is your GM, your bag road Damas, here to talk about RSS.com, all right? So if you guys already don't know, I am a RSS.com affiliate, and so I just want to tell you for just a quick moment about why you should choose RSS.com. So me personally, on my journey of podcasting, I was looking at different platforms just to find the right place. And I looked here, I looked there, I looked everywhere, but I checked out RSS.com, and it was the best decision I ever made. From low prices to interactive analytics to as well as helping you with your distribution. RSS.com does it all. Not to mention, they just started a Slack channel where you can network and interact with other podcasters and even get some insightful tips on how you can increase your podcast even more. So head on over to RSS.com. I will be attaching my RSS affiliate link within the description. When you click on that link, I will be able to receive some compensation for it. And with that compensation, I will be able to give you guys a better product. A lot of that money will go towards upgrading the microphones, computers, new subscriptions for more analytical information that we can use for future podcasts, all of that and more. Thank you for your support, and thank you RSS.com for making me an affiliate. Now back to the good stuff. Defensively, this team right now could literally cause the Bengals to not make it to the playoffs. I understand that they have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and they invest a lot of money into them, and I understand they have Mike Gesicki as well. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have a defense, you're not going anywhere. You're not making it to the AFC Championship, let alone to the second round of the playoffs. So I don't know if the Bengals have to go and get somebody in free agency. I don't know if they have to try to find a way to, resolve things between Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart. But if I'm the front office, I would rather to have resolution between both pass rushers. But if I can't get that, then I'd rather go with Trey Hendrickson over Shamar Stewart, because it looks like to me that Shamar Stewart is probably going to go back to college or find another way to just not be with the Bengals. Right now, if you're the Bengals, you have a lot to do within training camp. You have a lot of observations and a lot of tough decisions that you're going to have to make from the top down. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, I just put safety in here just to, just to have something to talk about. I mean, you have Marcus Williams, Justin Simmons, Jordan Whitehead, Julian Blackman, Quandre Diggs, Chuck Clark, just to name a few. Edge rushers, you have Von Miller, Matthew Judon, Preston, and Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, Kaiser White, John Kaminsky, as I said before. Wide receiver, of course, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Chris Conley, Jamison Crowder. Now, I just want to preface this. When I meant receiver, I mean wide receiver 3, if I'm not mistaken, because Jermaine Burton, I don't know what's going on with him, but he needs help. Okay, you continue to just get into trouble, and I just don't understand why. Like, you're a very talented receiver. You showed a lot at Alabama, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you need a new change of scenery, whatever it is, get it done. Because, bro, just stop. There's only so many times a team is going to give you a chance. Once you've run out of chances, that's it. Now let's get to the Steelers, because this one is a little bit of a longer segment, okay? So positional battles, wide receiver, guard, tackle, defensive line, and safety, all right? So players to keep your eye out for: Isaiah Loudermilk, DeMarvin Leal, Daniel Aquale, Roderick Jones, Corey Trice, Beanie Bishop, Mason McCormick, Roman Wilson, Cole Holcomb, Logan Lee, and Dean Lowry, okay? So let's start with Isaiah Loudermilk. Well, specifically the defensive line. So the interior defensive line is packed. You have Derek Harmon, you have Y.A. Black, you have Daniel Aquale. You have a lot of defensive linemen, and not everyone's going to make the roster. So the question is, who's going to do it? Who's on the outside looking in? We already know Derek Harmon is safe. We know most likely Y.A. Black is possibly safe as well. So if I'm Isaiah Loudermilk, I got to ball out. If I'm DeMarvin Leal, I got to ball out. If I'm Dean Lowry, you're probably not going to make the roster, but if you can at least put out some good tape for that, for maybe another team to possibly pick you up, that's an option as well. But this is a very packed defensive line room, and I just want to see how things are going to go. We do know that the Steelers this season are definitely emphasizing bolstering of the defensive line, and that has to do in part to the beatdown that they took from the Ravens when Derrick Henry almost ran for 300 rushing yards. But DeMarvin Leal, his situation is very unique because coming out of college, he was a tweener. So I know like the Steelers used him as a pass rusher, an interior defensive line, then edge rusher again. They've just moved him everywhere, and it really hasn't helped him out. So if you're DeMarvin Leal, I guess the only thing you can do is try to put out good tape, because if you can't beat Jeremiah Moon, I don't know what to tell you. Daniel Aquale, same thing with Isaiah Loudermilk. Broderick Jones, we can talk about Broderick Jones a little bit. He has to show up. Okay, he has to step up. He has to take a significant step forward. They're not going to bring him back. And then that's going to set back the team another year, because why? That's another first round pick that is yet to show anything. Corey Trice, you're on the outside looking in, brother. The problem with Corey Trice is that he can't stay healthy. If he just stayed healthy just a little bit, I think he could have a legitimate chance to make this team. But because because his injury problems have just been plaguing him since coming into the league, you're on the fence. Now, Beanie Bishop, this one's a little bit more controversial, and here's why. Me personally, I wouldn't cut Beanie Bishop just because of how well he played last season. You're talking about somebody that had 4 picks last season. He got 2 off of Aaron Rodgers in 1 game. So I don't understand why people are just automatically discounting Beanie Bishop, but me personally, I feel like the slot position should definitely go to Beanie Bishop for right now. Granted, I understand he's at a disadvantage because of his size, but he can't control that. But the things he can control, he tries to put his best into it. Mason McCormick, sure, you had a pretty decent season last year. Let's see if you can do that again. Roman Wilson, it's prove-it time with you. Same thing with Cole Holcomb. It's prove-it time. It's time to show that you deserve to be on this team, especially Roman Wilson. Right now, the wide receiver position is open for you. So whatever you need to do it. Because right now, if you don't, the Steelers are going to either get Gabe Davis or try to make a move. Just saying. Cole Holcomb, yes, you took a pay cut, but I mean, again, you're on the outside looking in because you haven't played ball in over, what, 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Dean Lowry, I really don't expect for him to make the roster, but, I've seen crazier things. The storyline for the Steelers is, what's the identity of this team? And here's why. And this may turn into something bigger, but, I really don't care. Everyone from the outside looking in is saying the same thing about the Steelers. They're all in. They're focused on winning a Super Bowl. They're going to make a deep run in the playoffs this year. I don't see it. There are too many question marks on both sides of the ball to say that this team is all in. You have Broderick Jones as a question mark. You have Corey Trice, Joey Porter Jr., Darnell Washington, Patrick Queen, Keanu Benton. You have a lot of players that have question marks. And if they don't take a significant step forward, that's going to push the team back. And some of those players are getting ready to enter into contract years. If I'm the Steelers, this is a make it or break season, not just for the players, but also for the coaching staff. Because let's be real here, folks. If this team doesn't progress, or at least show that they're headed in the right direction, Pat Meyer is going to be without a job. TA is going to be out. Who else? There's going to be significant changes if this team doesn't show anything this year. Because what's the identity? I understand that they want to play Steelers football and they want to, run the ball down your throat and be physical at the line of scrimmage and impose their will against their opponents. But every single time that they go up against true competition, they fold. And see, that is why, and I forgot to talk about this with the whole TJ Watt thing, but that's exactly why I was very critical about Omar Khan getting his extension before TJ Watt getting an extension. I talked about it on the TikTok, Football Junkies Pod, by the way. What does it look like that you as a GM get an extension before your star player? See, it's one thing if the team is heading in the right direction and a lot of the question marks on the team have already been answered. Things are good. But that's not the case. Your first round picks are still question marks. A lot of your picks so far have been question marks. Granted, you've done an okay job. You've done what most GMs are supposed to do. And I understand that you inherited a bad situation. You had to clean up the books and you had to let a lot of people go and whatnot. I get all that. But still, this team has not made a significant leap to say, hey, we're in a better direction under your direction. So what sense does it make that, hey, I'm going to take care of myself before I take care of my star player? The star player who, by the way, statistics show that if he's not on the field, we're going to lose 60 to 70% of our games. That's selfish. And if I'm Art Rooney, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I would say, oh, what you doing there, player? You don't get an extension until 90 gets an extension. Then we can start talking about you. Or better yet, I would have just waited until the next offseason. That way you can observe and say, hey, listen, we don't know if we're going to keep him. We might move off of him. We may extend him. We may trade him. We may do something with him. Because right now, there's too many question marks on this team. I'm sorry. Oh, and by the way, I just want to let it be known for all the people that said that Broderick Jones was going to be a good pick. Hey, guess what? Told you so. Broderick Jones, and I know I'm just skipping everywhere, but I just had to get this stuff off my chest, okay? Broderick Jones, unless he becomes, I don't know, average to above average, it was a waste of a pick. Whereas you could have had someone in Christian Gonzalez who is way better, way more established, and he would have addressed the need that, guess what? You haven't really addressed successfully in a very long time. But you know what you wanted to do? You wanted to go with somebody just because you like the look. You like the potential. Really think about this here, folks. If you can't beat Dan Moore, who was probably a league average to possibly above league average left tackle, and you're supposed to be more athletic than him and just a better left tackle prospect than him, and you can't beat him to take his job within the first probably 2 years? Come on now. What are we talking about? Just have to put that out there. Another storyline I think we have to talk about with the Steelers is what version of Aaron Rodgers are they going to get? Because although Aaron Rodgers says that he's all in, he's repping the Steelers, he's wearing the apparel and whatnot. I don't believe that. Okay, I just don't see it personally. But what version are they going to get? Are they going to get someone that's going to be willing to listen, or are they going to get somebody that was throwing his own teammates under the bus and complaining about the offensive scheme and the play calling and whatnot? What version are the Steelers going to get with Aaron Rodgers? That's the number one question I want to know. And let's talk about the NFC North, all right? So this one should be fairly easy, okay? So for the Lions, their positional battles to look out for is guard, cornerback, and edge. Players to keep an eye out for: Tate Ratledge, Christian Mahogany, and Marcus Davenport, just to name a few. So with them, we know that one of their guards unexpectedly retired this offseason. So, of course, they've had to elevate, and now Christian Mahogany, if I'm not mistaken, is now the left guard, and Tate Ratledge is the right guard. So I just want to see how things are going to work, especially for Tate Ratledge because he's a rookie. So, this is sort of like, just throwing him into the fire. Marcus Davenport, I want to see exactly, is he going to take another step forward? Is he going to, solidify his role at edge? What exactly is going to happen? But the storyline for the Lions is, what's the identity of this team? And let me explain why. So normally when you lose coordinators, you will lose one, one off season, then you lose another one probably like 2 or 3 years later. But they lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators in one off season. Not to mention, they also lost the people that were under the offense and defensive coordinators as well. So you've had a lot of changeover when it comes to the coaching staff, and all you've really done is just elevated a lot of people that are already on the staff currently. So I want to know exactly what's going to be the identity for this offense as well as this defense, because I feel like that's very important right now, because they're in a very important window and they have to, and I mean have to, make it to the Super Bowl. If they don't make it to the Super Bowl, every move that they've made so far was a waste. And then we're going to have legitimate questions about Jared Goff moving forward. Now we'll look at, possible free agency additions. Sure, you have guard. We've already went over Brandon Scherff, Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez. Cornerback, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Mike Hilton, C.J. Henderson, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., Emmanuel Mosley. If I'm not mistaken, he used to play for the Lions. Edge, you have Von Miller, Matt Judon, Preston Anzadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, Kaiser White. The people I've already said before. So I just want to see exactly how things are going to go with the Lions. I knew I was forgetting something. Let me backtrack. So for the Steelers, for the possible free agency additions, especially for safety, you have Marcus Williams, Justin Simmons, Jordan Whitehead, Julian Blackman, Quandre Diggs, Chuck Clark. Guard, we've already gone over. Wide receiver, we've already gone over. Defensive line, if they decide to take that route, if they decide to trade away some people, you have Raekwon Davis, Austin Johnson, Linval Joseph, Taylor Bryan, Maurice Hurst. Tackle, if you want to bring in competition for Broderick and maybe Troy Fatano, you have George Fant, Andreas Pete, Isaiah Wynn, Michael Dunn, Raven Clark, Chris Hubbard, and Jermaine Fetty. Okay, now moving forward, let's go to the Bears. Okay, so their positional battles to watch out for: safety and left tackle, specifically Kevin Byard III and Braxton Jones. So the storylines for the Bears is, can Ben Johnson unlock Caleb Williams? We all know that Caleb Williams had a disastrous rookie season, and so can Ben Johnson unlock something in Caleb Williams that can elevate his play even more? I mean, look, they've made investments into the offensive line. They've made investments into the receiving core again, and tight end, and running back as well. They've done a lot. And so we're starting to hit that point where, hey, is Caleb Williams legit? Is he not? What exactly is Caleb Williams at this point? Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, with safety, you have Marcus Williams, Justin Simmons, Jordan Whitehead, Julian Blackman, Quandre Diggs, Chuck Clark. Tackle, as I've said before, you have George Fant, Andreas Pete, Isaiah Wynn, Michael Dunn, LaRaven Clark, Chris Hubbard, Jermaine Fetty. because Braxton Jones right now, I think you need to bring in some competition. I think you need to see what you have in him, and if you're not satisfied with that, well, then you already know the next draft you're probably gonna have to draft a left tackle high, or you're probably gonna have to get one in free agency, or however you do it. But the time for excuses for this team is starting to run out. The clock is ticking now. If you're the Bears, now let's get to the Packers. Okay, so their positional battles: wide receiver, interior offensive line. I know. We'll talk about it. So players to keep an eye out for: Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, and Isaiah Simmons. So the reason why I have wide receivers because they've made a lot of investments into wide receiver this offseason. Okay, they drafted Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. So the question is this: are they going to transition Savion Williams into somewhat of like a Cordell Patterson type of role? How are things going to go? Because remember, Christian Watson is still out. So you're going to have Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, and I think who else? McCole Harmon and a few other receivers. So the receiver room is packed. So at least 2 or 3 people are probably going to be moved. The question is who? Do I think it's probably going to be Romeo Doubs? There's a possibility. Do I think Dontavian Wicks could possibly move? That's a possibility as well. All options are on the table for wide receiver. Now, Elton Jenkins, I only put him up there because I know, like previously, like in the early parts of the offseason, there was like some discourse between him and the organization because they wanted him to move in and play at center, but then he's like, hey, if I move in the center, then you're gonna have to pay me as a center, and I don't know what's going on at this point, but he's definitely a name to keep your eye on. Just because there's a chance he may stay at guard, or they may pay him as a center and then he transitions to center. Only time will tell. Isaiah Simmons, I want to see exactly what can you do. I understand you were a high first round pick. You were super athletic and you could play anywhere on the field, but so far you've only really been good at special teams and the few times that you've played middle linebacker. So I just want to see exactly how are the Packers going to use you. But the storyline for the Packers this training camp is, can the Packers take the next step to becoming legitimate contenders? Folks, the Packers are a really good team. They have a really good roster and a really competitive division. And they have a really good quarterback in Jordan Love. But the question is, what do they need to do to take that next step? Is it an acquisition of a player? Is it coaching? Is it a change? What exactly do they need to do? Because I think this Packers team can make a deep run in the playoffs. But it all depends on what they do now. And when we look at possible free agency additions, I just put this up there just for conversation. If they decide to move Elton Jenkins in and the backup who's going to be the starting guard is not good, you can bring in someone like a Brandon Sheriff, Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, just to name a few. Wide receiver, I don't think they're going to bring in anybody. I think they're going to subtract, then add, because remember, they drafted Matthew Golden in the first round and then Savion Williams in the second or third round, if I'm not mistaken. So only time will tell with them. All right, now let's get to the Vikings. All right. So the only positional battle that I had with them was corner. And it was specifically nickel corner, if I'm not mistaken. So the players to keep an eye out for were Jeff Okudah, Isaiah Rodgers, and Mekhi Blackmon. So here's the thing. This Vikings team is loaded. But nickel is a little bit of a sore spot for them. And you have people like Jeff Okudah, Isaiah Rodgers, and Mekhi Blackmon that are all going to be competing for that role. Now, do I think Isaiah Rodgers could possibly win it? It's a possibility. But I think if you're Jeff Okudah or Mekhi Blackmon, you're on the outside looking in right now, especially someone like a Jeff Okudah. I want to know what exactly the Vikings are going to do with this. Are they going to try to let this play out and then make a decision there? Or are they going to bring in someone like a Stephon Gilmore who, he played last season with them and, that secondary was actually pretty good. Because let's be real here, folks. This Vikings team, their ceiling is very high. Okay, am I saying they can make it to the Super Bowl? No. But do I think they can make some noise? For sure. Now, the original storyline that I had was, how is JJ McCarthy going to look? And the other one I had was, can they reclaim the fire that they had last year? Because last year, there was a point in time where the Vikings were on fire, defensively and offensively. And then I don't know what happened, but like Sam Darnold didn't play his best ball. They started to lose some games, and then next thing you know, one thing leads to another, and they're just not playing their best ball. So what exactly the Vikings need to do to reclaim that fire? Now, am I saying J.J. McCarthy can take them to the promised land? No, because technically speaking, this is his rookie year. But I do think he has the intangibles. I think he has the weapons around him to be very successful. But I think only time will tell. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, if you want to bring him back, Russell Douglas, Mike Hilton, C.J. Henderson, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., Emmanuel Mosley, just to name a few. So I want to keep my eye on the Vikings. I want to keep my eye on probably the Packers, Lions, Browns, Bengals, Ravens, Steelers. I'll probably check in every once in a while, but I'm a little bit turned off with the Steelers right now. Uh, that's another story for another day. But I'm going to end this episode here. If you guys like what you are listening, please, 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 please make sure you guys download the episodes, interact with the episodes. Just do something with the episodes, okay? Please, it really helps out with the algorithm, and that way we can give people that are real football junkies the fix that they love and or need. Okay, so now for my audio listeners, we are available on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, anywhere and everywhere that you can listen to podcasts. Okay, make sure you guys leave a five-star review on anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Please, I would deeply appreciate that. Now for my YouTube people, Football Junkies Pod. All right, follow us on YouTube, Football Junkies Pod. We have a link tree. When you click on that link tree, it'll take you to anywhere and everywhere that we have Football Junkies content, as well as my RSS.com affiliate link as well. When you click on that link, and if you sign up for RSS.com, I get some compensation back for it. All compensation will go to the Football Junkies podcast, whether that mean upgrades in equipment, more advanced stats, and whatever else that we can to make this podcast better for you guys. All right, now for my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod. All right, Football Junkies Pod. I got some clips that I got to put out. I just got to edit them, and then I can just shoot them out to you guys. I'll probably do that towards the end of the week, maybe early next week. Stay tuned for that. Now for my Instagram people, Football_Junkies Pod. All right, Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced. Okay, it is together, not spaced. Football_Junkies Pod. All right, you can follow me on Blue Sky, GMKaile, GMKaile, as well as X, GMKaile, KAILE. All right. As always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Stay tuned. We are going to the South. That's right, NFC and AFC South. All right, so stay tuned for that. That should be coming out fairly soon. But this is your GM Kale signing out. Peace and love. Later.